When I opened my grandfather's lockbox after his funeral, I found a diamond engagement ring wrapped in a blood-stained letter addressed to a woman who wasn't my grandmother. The letter was dated 3 days before D-Day, and the first line read, "Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I found the courage to die, but not the courage to love you." My hands trembled as I realized my grandfather had carried this secret for 79 years, dying at 97 without ever telling a soul. The woman's name was never mentioned in our family. My grandmother's name was Margaret. So who was Sarah? And why did this ring never reach her finger? But let me start from the beginning, because what I discovered about my grandfather changed everything I thought I knew about love, duty, and the impossible choices soldiers made in the chaos of war. My grandfather, James Mitchell, was the kind of man everyone in our small Pennsylvania town respected. Quiet, dignified, married to my grandmother for 68 years before she passed. He rarely talked about the war, just the occasional story about bad coffee or the French countryside. He and my grandmother seemed content, if not passionately in love. They had 3 children, my father being the oldest. Their wedding photo hung in the hallway, dated August 1945, just 3 months after VE Day. My grandmother looked beautiful, but serious, and my grandfather's smile never quite reached his eyes. As a kid, I thought that was just how people looked in old photographs. Now, I know better. After his funeral, my father asked me to sort through grandfather's belongings. Most of it was unremarkable. Old clothing, faded newspapers, his Purple Heart in a dusty case. Then I found the lockbox hidden behind his wartime footlocker in the basement. The key was taped underneath, like he wanted it found, but only after he was gone. Inside was the ring, the letter, and a stack of photographs I'd never seen. The top photo showed my grandfather in uniform, his arm around a stunning woman with dark curls and bright eyes, both of them laughing like they'd never known sadness. On the back, in my grandfather's handwriting, "Me and Sarah, London, January 1944. The day I knew. I sat on that cold basement floor for 3 hours, reading everything. The letter to Sarah was just the beginning. There were 47 letters total, all written to her, none ever sent. They spanned from January 1944 to June 1944, ending abruptly 3 days before D-Day. Each one was more heartbreaking than the last. The first letter was hopeful. "Sarah, I know we only met last week, but when that bomb hit the pub next door, and you didn't even flinch, just kept pouring tea and asking if I took sugar, but that's not even the most heartbreaking part. In letter 33, dated May 1944, everything changed. Sarah, my parents wrote to me. My childhood sweetheart, Margaret, is pregnant. Her family discovered it last month. Her father is threatening to disown her unless I come home and marry her immediately. They're saying it's mine. Sarah, I don't know if it's possible. We were together once, 2 years ago, before I shipped out. I thought we were careful. I thought that part of my life was over. But if there's a child, if it's mine, I can't abandon them. You understand duty better than anyone. Tell me what to do. Tell me there's a way to have both honor and happiness." The next 15 letters were torture to read. He was falling apart, trying to figure out what was real and what was obligation. Letter 41 broke me. I asked the chaplain if it's possible to love 2 people. He said no, that real love is singular. But Sarah, I think he's wrong. I love you with the part of me that wants to live. I love the idea of Margaret and this baby with the part of me that remembers who I was supposed to be. The boy my parents raised, the man that small town expects me to become. I don't know if that baby is mine, but I know if I don't go back and claim it, everyone will call it a bastard. And I can't do that to an innocent child. What happened next will shock you. In letter 45, dated June 2nd, 1944, my grandfather made his choice. Sarah, I'm going to ask you to do something that proves I'm a coward. When we ship out in a few days, I'm not coming back to London first. I can't see your face when I tell you. I'm going to marry Margaret when this war ends. Not because I don't love you, but because that baby deserves a father. And I'm too weak to live with the guilt if I choose my happiness over a child's future. I bought this ring for you. I'm writing this letter so you'll know the truth. But Sarah, I'm not brave enough to send it. I'm not brave enough to see your heart break. So I'm going to be a coward in the only way I know how. I'm going to let you think I died loving you, because if I survive, I'll die anyway. The best parts of me will die. I found a newspaper clipping folded in the bottom of the box. It was from a London paper, dated July 1944. Sarah Catherine Moore, 24, voluntary nurse, killed in V-1 rocket attack on St. Thomas Hospital, remembered for her tireless service and bright spirit. My grandfather never had to choose. War chose for him. Sarah died while he was pushing through the hedgerows of Normandy, and he didn't find out until September when he returned to London on leave. There was one final letter, dated September the 15th, 1944. The truth was far more disturbing than anyone imagined. I got my DNA tested 3 months after finding those letters. My father was Robert, the baby from that story. The results came back. Robert Mitchell was not my grandfather's biological son. Margaret had lied. The baby wasn't his. She'd trapped him with a false pregnancy claim. And by the time he came home to verify it, she had somehow produced another man's child and convinced everyone it was early. My grandfather raised a son that wasn't his, stayed in a loveless marriage for 68 years, and kept his true love secret until the day he died. All because he believed in doing the right thing, even when the right thing was built on lies. I showed my father everything. He sat in silence for 20 minutes, then finally spoke. I always wondered why he looked at me with such sadness. I thought I'd disappointed him somehow. Now I understand. Every time he saw me, he saw everything he'd given up, everything he'd lost. We found out later that my grandmother knew the baby wasn't his. Her sister confessed at the nursing home. Margaret had slept with another soldier, got pregnant, and panicked. When she heard James was in love with someone in England, she weaponized her pregnancy to bring him home. She never apologized, never told him the truth. She figured one lie was worth a lifetime of security. My grandfather could have left after the war. He could have investigated, demanded proof, walked away. But he didn't, because he'd made a promise, and soldiers keep their promises even when they shouldn't have to. He honored a commitment built on deception because the alternative was admitting he'd sacrificed his happiness for nothing. Some truths are too painful to excavate. I tried to find Sarah's family. It took 8 months, but I located her niece, now in her 80s, living in Manchester. I sent her copies of the letters and the photograph. She wrote back, my aunt spoke of an American soldier named James. She said he was the only man she'd ever love. She kept a picture of him in her nurse's uniform pocket. When she died, we buried her with it. Thank you for letting me know she wasn't wrong about him. Thank you for proving her love was real, even if it was brief. I had the ring appraised. It's worth $47,000 today. My grandfather spent what would be equivalent to $3,000 in 1944, money on a ring for a woman he knew for 5 months. That's not infatuation. That's not wartime romance. That's love. Real, devastating, life altering love. The ring sits on my desk now. My father didn't want it, said it hurt too much. I keep it as a reminder that our grandparents' generation didn't